topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from experts on such topics as legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to our experts in community association law, estate planning law, tax relief, Medicare, public insurance adjusters, neuropathy treatment, business brokers, and personal injury law, along with many other topics. Now here's your host for the last 17 years, Steve O.
Morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where, like the man said, last 17 years we have brought you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Folks, I just got the funniest thing. Now, our experts probably not going to think it's funny, but yesterday, I'm watching the news, and they're talking about the flooding in Houston. So the first thing came to mind was my buddy Barry Fowler of Taxation Solutions, because he is in the Houston area. And I was really worried about him, and I started praying last night that everything goes well, that it doesn't affect him at all. And he comes on this morning, and the first thing I wanted to say was, Barry, are you okay? I've heard there's a lot of flooding in Houston. And he goes, what flooding? Oh, God. Here I was worried about him and his family, and he hadn't even noticed it yet. Good morning, Barry Fowler.
Hey, good morning. Hey, you forgot the best part about it is, and you were saying flooding. I was saying what? The city's flooded with debt because of the way people vote. You know?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, there is some flooding I think I've seen, but where we're at, we're good. Our pond has got a lot of extra water in it. It's kind of overflowing, so maybe the tractor might get stuck, but other than that, we're all good. But I do appreciate your concern.
Oh my, you're my
always
buddy.
Great doing the show with you and having fun, and we get to talk about tax relief and getting people out of debt with the IRS, and then we get to have a good time talking about other things that are happening, in this country and all around. So, we try to keep it as good as possible.
Barry is, we've just gone on TikTok, which probably one of the best moves we've made, and they do a lot of AI, and I'm looking down and they're going, and again, I didn't write this into them or anything. They have it down. Don't forget to watch Barry Fowler today with Taxation Solutions. That was all taken out of just my words and our promotions. It's amazing how AI works.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, I'm going to tell you that, we've seen it try to work in taxes. We've even seen some people that go online and you can go into one of the search engines and use the AI mode. It doesn't always come up with the right answer. So you kind of got to watch out. It's kind of like do it yourself. You watch it on YouTube and you go to do plumbing yourself or electrical yourself. Next thing you know, if you're doing electrical, you're on the floor from the shock of your life. That's sometimes the same thing that happens when you're dealing with the IRS and you try to do it yourself. The next thing you know, the shock of it left you on the floor going, what happened? How did they take everything I had in my bank account? It's because, man, you set them up for it and you made it easy. Sometimes do it yourself just doesn't work. And you just really got to have somebody there to help you. Step in your shoes and make sure that you're not having to deal with the IRS where it becomes emotional, but you can be emotional with us and talk to us. And then we get to deal with the IRS on your behalf. So that's kind of the beauty of using Taxation Solutions. And not trying to do AI, with it all. AI does get it wrong. Trust me, we have seen it.
Hey, Barry, I got to tell you, I know you probably know a lot of this, but with all these letters, we've been doing the show for 17 years and we get so many letters. And one of the things about taxations, the relief in your company, Taxation Solutions, is people have said, I've procrastinated. People have said, I feel like if I disregard their letters, they'll eventually go away. People said, I'm embarrassed. People have said, I think if I hire a company like Taxation Solutions, the IRS is going to come down on me harder. Can you address some of those things?
Well, first off, have you ever known a debt collector to go away?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And the IRS is the biggest and baddest and the worst debt collector there is. Now, they just send letters after letters after letters, and then they levy your bank account or garnish your wages, and you got to deal with that. They don't make the phone calls like other debt collectors do until you've been in contact with them and have a person that you're dealing with. Then they'll call you. Ignoring those or sticking your head in the sand never helps. I mean, you can do that for 10 years, but trust me, try sticking your head in the sand for 2 minutes. You won't be able to breathe and basically be dead. And it's the same thing. When you start sticking your head in the sand with the IRS, you're not going to be able to outlast them. You're not going to be able to keep your head in the sand and run from them for 10 years. They're going to get money from you. Sometimes they say, hey, the hardest thing to do is to get blood from a turnip, right? Well, the IRS finds it pretty easy to find money wherever they can, even when you think you don't have it, whether it's equity in your home, whether it's retirement accounts, whether it's your wages, whether it's your contract income, whether it's your Social Security. They're going to find a way to take money from you to get those payments. So procrastinating, not dealing with the problem, not getting in front of it is sometimes the worst thing you can possibly do. Now, when you work with us, we're going to try to stall this out and get this out as far as we can. If there's statute of limitations they're going to run out, we want to get to that point. If we have an IRS agent or a revenue officer that is working this case, we're going to do everything we can to get you the best deal possible within the IRS rules to have the lowest payment plan, or maybe put you in non-collectible status, or even get you that offer and compromise that you hear on the radio all the time. So the options are there. We've just got to work with you to get you into the right option.
Barry, I just read, and I want to, because of TikTok, I really want you to tell people about Taxation Solutions, how long you've been around for, what you actually do. And then I want to talk about, there's several major companies who have just been busted for false advertising. And we talk about them a lot on the show because a lot of these companies, once you sign up, pay them your money, it's like pulling teeth to get a hold. But let's first talk about Taxation Solutions, because you have been around for a long time, Barry.
So I personally have been fighting against the IRS for about 40 years now, or over 40 years actually. And, back in 2008, we actually set up the company called Taxation Solutions to specifically target individuals and people that had IRS problems and help them with their problems. We saw an abundance of these problems coming along. We were fighting them back in the 90s. We were fighting them back in the 80s and 2000s. It just continued to pile on, and we saw the need for tax relief, a tax resolution company. So we opened this company to be different than everybody else. And that's why we keep an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau. And that difference is we stay in contact with our clients. We're calling them all the time. We're getting information. We're giving them information. Even when there's nothing going on in your case, we bug you. We either make a phone call or we make a phone call. If we don't get a hold of you, we email you, we text you. We've even had clients go, stop, why are you telling us so much when there's nothing happening? Because we want to make sure we're in touch with you. And we try to progress the cases as quickly as possible to their final resolution. It takes your cooperation to do it because we can't make up information. We need information from you to get you the best deal. But as we get that information, we move it on. We'll get people offers in compromise where we settle for far less than what people owe based on your qualifications. We're not going to file an offer that we don't feel is going to be successful. If you want an offer in compromise on something that's going to be a bogus offer, we're not going to do it. We're going to look at it, we're going to evaluate it, and we're going to tell you, hey, this is the best that the IRS is going to do. Our knowledge is vast that we can do that with you. And then, hey, sometimes we just say, hey, that offer looks good, but there's a better way of doing it that saves you. And we do partial pay installment agreements, or we do an installment agreement that's stepped because that's what you need. Or, hey, if it's best just to be in non-collectible status, that's what we're going to do. We're looking for the best options for you, not what sounds the best, what might be the best, what is, everybody's dream at the end of this is, hey, getting rid of your debt. Now, how you do it, it's got to be done the right way, not what, hey, my guys or somebody out there wants to sell you to do. So everybody wants that, beautiful bright light at the end of the tunnel that says offer in compromise, all my debt goes away. And that's what's all you hear. And it's not what they really said was possibly or maybe. So, we work with our clients to get them the best deal that they actually qualify for and make it work with what they're doing.
Barry, would you also address the people who write us and say, yes, but will the IRS deal us harsher if we have a company like Taxation Solutions representing us?
The revenue officer I was just dealing with just the other day told me, I don't know why these guys were hiring you. They don't have enough money to pay us. And, and they hire you to do this. And I was trying to help them. Well, man, what you asked for was full payment. Where did that help come and benefit them? Well, I don't work for them. I work for the IRS, and we've got to collect money. Well, that's why Congress gave the Bill of Rights and the right to representation. Now, let's take a step back and let's look at this case from the right way, and let's help this taxpayer, our client, get the deal that they can get and deserve to get, do this. Well, if they don't cooperate, I'm going to levy. Well, man, you've got a lot of things you need to do before you can go to levy. And the first thing you need to do is review the installment agreement that we are putting in place and asking for today. Well, that's got to go to my manager. And while it's at my manager's, I'm going to levy. I said, well, I'm sorry, ma'am, but that is against the IRS rules. First thing you need to do is tell me no and send me a letter refusing it. And then I will take it to appeals. And I will appeal what you're going to say because I know appeals will approve it. I don't care what appeals will do. See, now I know what's in the Internal Revenue Manual. I quoted it to them. And by the time we're done, we're going to get what we want, not what she wants. She wasn't there to help you, but she says she is. You wouldn't know any better what's in the Internal Revenue Manual than anybody else off the street, but we do because we read it. And now we know how to help you get you the best deal. Yeah, that revenue officer is going to tell you you don't need representation because they're your friend. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Ronald Reagan said it best. And he said, if somebody from the government says they're from the government, turn around and run as fast as you can. And while you're running, pick up the phone and call Taxation Solutions at 888-930-1016. We'll know you're out of breath. We'll know you're running from the revenue officer you were talking to and you need help, and we're going to get you that help. So again, call us 888-930-1016. Let us help you. Don't trust the government. As far as you can throw it, don't trust it.
Wow. Barry, so this is crazy for some of the things people think about. And I want to congratulate you. Barry does a show every Monday at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Is that right? Did I get the time right, Barry?
Yep, every Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Right after our show. And I got to tell you, so I look at the topics that you talk about, Barry. You are so creative as to creating show topics. I just wanted to congratulate
I take no credit, Steve-O. Absolutely no credit.
Why?
Because it's the people that listen to the show that create my topics for me.
Yeah, okay.
They ask a question, and I go, man, that'd make a whole great show. So I tell them right there on the show, hey, we're going to talk about what happens when you sell your business, tax implications of it. That's next week's show. This week's show was, I forgot what I did yesterday. Oh my gosh, that is terrible. So you got to go to taxtalk4u.com to find out what I did yesterday, and you can look at yesterday's podcast. We have all that information. Again, it's tax talk, the number 4, the letter u.com. And you can find all of our podcasts, but most of our shows out there are based on what the listeners want to hear and what they have questions on. And, when we're sitting there talking, we're trying to help people figure out, what they're going to do. Hey, I just remembered what we did yesterday. We were talking about setting up your side hustle as a business. So what would you do and what do you need to do and what do you have to think about when you're setting up your side hustle as a business? That came from the listeners, not from me. So you can give me all the credit, but I've got to give the credit where it's really due. It's the listeners that actually make the show and make the show as good as it can be.
And it's every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. What a great show. Barry, got to congratulate you on something else. I know for a fact that some of these, and Barry, you've got a big company. So when I say I'm not excluding Taxation Solutions, but these national companies and they have the celebrities on there, I know for a fact they listen to the show. And the reason why I know that is, Barry, you have been talking about helping truckers out for as long as I can remember. I never heard these companies talking about helping truckers out until in the last 6 months, I've heard companies start talking about that. So I know they listen to this show because you have been working with truckers for a long time.
We've been doing it with truckers, a very long time, probably since we started. We met some truckers who had tax problems, and man, it just snowballed from there. Helping the truckers, with their tax problems, helping them with their bookkeeping now and their taxes, keeping them out of trouble. I speak also at Truck to Success for trucking association called Owner Operators Independent Drivers Association, OOIDA. We know helping truckers was vital, not just to our business, but vital to the American people. There is nothing you buy in a store that wasn't brought via truck. And so, keeping these guys on the road, keeping them straight and narrow and finding them every deduction they can really has helped them and helped us continue to grow and profit from being able to be that go-to place for truckers, owner operators, all across the country. And since we have virtual locations all across in every single state, it was a natural fit to be able to deal with truckers nationwide. So, that's what we got into doing. Now, we help everybody else as well. It doesn't matter what kind of side hustle you got, what kind of business you're in. If you're even in the gig economy out there, we help people that have tax problems with individuals, businesses, both. And that's what we're here to do is to help you solve that problem and get the IRS off your back.
Barry, I'm just trying to read some of these questions that are coming in from TikTok. This is one, it's amazing. There are a lot of accountants that are on TikTok, because you can tell by their handle, that are listening to the show this morning. And Barry, this is probably one of the biggest questions we get is, what do you do if you owe the IRS money and you don't have it to pay? I understand that your company charges to do this, and I understand that, but what if you don't have the additional monies to pay the IRS?
Well, see, that's something that we sit down and go through a financial analysis with you. We do even a tax analysis to determine why the IRS is saying you owe money. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe some returns weren't filed, or maybe they did SFRs, whatever. And we try to fix those to bring the debt down as well. And then, once we determine whether the IRS is right or wrong, or fix those problems, then we determine what the IRS solution would be for you. Is it the payment plan of maybe a small payment because you can't afford it and we can prove it to the IRS and we can use all the deductions? Is it the offer and compromise where we get rid of all the debt, within the system that the IRS allows? All that stuff we've got to look at. There is even the option of putting you into a currently non-collectible status, especially maybe if you're retired or you don't have a lot of money coming in and you're not seeing that you're going to have money coming in. That could be the best thing for you. The debt just sits there until either start making money or the C-sets run out. But it's options we have got to sit down and look at and run the numbers and look at every single option for you to what makes sense. And that's one of the benefits you get going to Taxation Solutions. We're not out here just to say, hey, Johnny, you get an offer. Jimmy, you get an offer. Jackie, you get an offer. No, we're not doing that. We're going in and saying, hey, you're going to get the best solution allowed by law within the framework within the IRS, and what we can work with you to maybe even change your financial position and situation to where you qualify for something better, or you qualify for, maybe not making any payments on your debt at all until your situation turns around. There's a lot of different options out there for you. We got to work through them to make it make sense for you and make it make financial sense as you're going down this road as well.
This is from YouTube. Joseph wants to know, he said, can you talk about some of the scams that are out there? I read last night and knew it's got to be a scam, but I can see some people believing in it, stating that if the IRS has a plan now where you can wipe out your entire debt to the IRS. I know that's got to be a scam, but can you talk more about it?
So yes and no. Depends on how the company is actually selling that to you. The IRS has a plan that is called the offer and compromise, where if you qualify, you can wipe out all your tax debt that you have. Now you got to be in compliance, from the time you file it through 5 years after they accept it. But if you can manage to do all that and you qualify, yes, the debt can all be wiped out and go away. Now, you have a lot of equity in your home. You make a lot of money. Even if you spend a lot of money, you make a lot of money, the IRS is going to still say you can afford to pay even when you can't. Because the IRS does things like national standards, meaning your mortgage payment can only be for so much. Your food, clothing, your auto expense, your fuel, your insurance, all these things have limitations on it. And if you're over and above that, then the IRS says, no, you're only allowed to have this much in expenses. Anything above it should go to them. So even though you're living above the national standards and can't afford to pay, well, it doesn't mean you're going to qualify for that offer and compromise. See, a lot of these companies, and I've tested this out a couple of times, a lot of these companies out there will tell you you qualify for an offer and compromise when you say you can't afford to pay anything. And they don't even ask you if you have equity in your house. They don't even ask you what your income is. They just naturally default with, yeah, we can settle that. Pennies on the dollar. We can settle for a lot less than what you owe. But they never ran the numbers. They never asked the questions. And so you get something like that, hey, it's hang up the phone and call Taxation Solutions. We're going to walk you through it. We're going to talk about it. It's a free call, free consultation at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. Mention it. You heard it here on Ask the Experts, and we give you special discounts. We want to help. I mean, that's why we're on the show at Ask the Experts. It's why we don't do our show, taxtalk4u.com, on Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time here on W4CY Radio, is we want to lend that hand. We want to be able to help. We do that free consultation so we can at least, hey, give you some advice to tell you this is what you should do or shouldn't do. And then you have the knowledge to make the decision on which way you want to go to work on this tax problem and get in front of it today rather than wait for them to take what you have. Because it's harder to fight the IRS when you have nothing and put a solution in place when you have nothing than when you get somebody hired and working on your side and for you, like taxationsolutions.net.
Barry, there's a question from our chat line from Taylor. Do you need a company like yours before the startup stage or after you start your business?
Hey, Taylor, what I tell people is this. You need a good tax company to work with you before you ever get started opening your business. You need somebody that's going to give you some advice. We tell people, hey, you need a lawyer. You should use a lawyer when you start a business. You can do it on your own if you want to, but a lot of times using a lawyer, they're going to give you a lot more insight to the legalities and legal side of it. When you have a tax person, they are going to give you the advice of what you need to be doing in your business day one or even before you get started. Somebody you can work with and talk to them about, hey, this is my business plan. This is what I'm expecting. They'll be able to run the numbers and say, this is what you should be expecting tax-wise, or this is what you should be doing this first year to make sure you get as many write-offs as possible so that you're not paying as much in tax. Having that great tax and bookkeeping company behind you gives you the ability to do tax planning as you go and not after the fact. It's really hard to do tax planning come April 15th of 2027 and figure out what you could have done different in 2026 and fix it. There are things that we can't fix and things you can't do to change that. So you want to be proactive in planning. And that's why companies that you would have that would stand by your side and behind you would help you in your startup and your business and stuff.
This is from Lori in Plano, Texas. What % of your clients learn to find out the IRS figures are wrong on what they say you owe?
So we're at about 25 to 33% of our clients that come in and the numbers are wrong. And the reason the numbers are wrong is because a lot of times they didn't file a tax return. Meaning our client didn't file tax returns for a couple of years, and the IRS filed the substitute for return, SFRs, which means the IRS filed the return not to your benefit, but to the IRS's benefit. They didn't take all the tax deductions. So if you've been running a business and you got 1099s, well, that 1099 goes right on Schedule C at 100%, and it's all taxed for Social Security and Medicare. It's all taxed for federal income tax. And now you're paying taxes on money that isn't net income, but was the gross income. So things like that sometimes need to be fixed. The other side where we run into that people have wrong numbers or wrong amounts is you went through an audit but didn't get representation and you lost the audit. And if we're within the time frame, we can go back and do an audit reconsideration. We can get some of those things fixed. We took a client who was owing $1.5 million because they had zero audit representation. They quote unquote did it themselves, but didn't. And they lost the audit, of course. They owed close to $1.5 million. We went back and did audit reconsideration and got them down to less than roughly $300,000, including penalties and interest. So, they benefited by $1.2 million in tax debt, penalties, and interest that were reduced because of what we were able to do for them and how we were able to help them. And so, just jumping in and saying, hey, the IRS is right isn't the way to go. We want to go through and do that analysis. Now, we also find out a lot of people, and we're closer to another 50% of our clients haven't filed returns for 2 or 3 years. And the IRS isn't even asking for that yet. So we've got to get those returns filed, even 5 or 6 years, get those returns filed, and then we can now work on the tax debt once that's in place as well. And so it changes that debt amount also.
Let me just, TikTok keeps reminding me, we are not asking for any gifts for this show. Please tap the like, share this with your friends. We're talking about tax resolution today with Barry Fowler of Taxation Solutions. If you've got a question, please send in your question. If you or a family member or a friend are dealing with the dreaded IRS, this show is a great show to show you how you don't have to deal with them yourself, and you shouldn't. Barry, my next question is from Marilyn in Knoxville. She wants to know if you're familiar with collection due process hearing.
Absolutely. We use that on occasion when we have to. One of the problems, we try to avoid it where it is not necessary, is we don't want to extend statute of limitations. So, when we're sitting down and looking at where we're at with the status of the case, what is going on, what's going to be the best way we can actually sit down and do the process of the case, we've got to determine, does the CDP hearing, collection due process hearing, is it going to be worth it? Is it going to extend the statutes? Can we accomplish this in a different way? When we make the determination that is the right thing to do, we file for that CDP hearing, and then we continue to move the case as rapidly as we can. But then we're depending on when the IRS will actually get to that CDP hearing. And sometimes that can be 3, 6, 9 months down the road, which then extends out that statute of limitations, which sometimes affects you because some of the debt could have been resolved or fallen off because the statutes would have run out, and we can accomplish it a different way. So we do that analysis here before we ever make that determination. Hey, Steve, you said there was a bunch of accountants maybe on this thing listening. If you don't service clients that have tax problems, we work with CPAs and other tax preparers to help resolve their clients' tax problems. We don't take your client. You keep the client as your tax and bookkeeping client. All we do is help them resolve their debt and get them back to you. If there's other things that need to be done, like taxes or maybe bookkeeping or something, we go back to you and want you to do it so we don't interfere with your client relationship. And we do this around the country with a lot of CPAs and tax preparers who don't do IRS representation, so that we could help meet the needs of your clients without affecting your relationship. You can call us again at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. And we can establish that relationship with you nationwide.
Okay, next we got a Facebook question, Barry. How long does the analyst take, and would it benefit everyone to do this on a personal return?
So the analysis that we do is when you are calling us and saying, hey, you owe tax debt. We do a complete analysis of everything that's on the record with the IRS. We can even do it if you don't owe debt, if you'd like us to look at it. What our system does and what we do is we take a look at the last basically 10 to 15 years, see what the IRS has record-wise. We then take the last 3 years and we go through and do a complete verification, income verification and stuff, and check to IRS records, to IRS paperwork they receive in from other reporting agencies, and make sure that everything is good. When there's problems, we suggest amending returns or fixing returns where it benefits you. And it becomes a personal choice. We've got to recommend where it says, hey, you have a problem on your return. We'll recommend exactly what you need to do, and then make a choice from there. How long does this take? Depends on sometimes how we got to get power of attorney. If we do electronic power of attorney, sometimes we're started on it within hours to 24 to 48 hours, sometimes even less. If we've got to do paper power of attorney, depends on how fast it is that you get that power of attorney back to us. Then we're on the phone with the IRS and requesting records. And then we wait for them to actually list our power of attorney within the central authorization unit. And that could take 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how fast they work, for us to get the rest of the information that we need. Then if we need to, and we're not getting enough information out of the IRS, we can even file for a Freedom of Information Act request and get even more information on you than you ever knew the IRS had, especially when you owe tax debt. And sometimes those are fun to go through and read to see what they've been doing as well. So you can count anywhere from a few hours to several weeks that it's going to take us to get through that complete tax analysis, depending on the process we've got to go through.
Let's go to TikTok. They want to know, what if my tax problems are due to my ex-wife? What do I do?
And that's a new one. Most of the time it's the ex-husband. I haven't heard an ex-wife one in probably a long time. There is, depending on how we got into this tax debt and what your knowledge of the tax debt is, a lot of times we're dealing with ex-wives who are saying their ex-husbands just forged their name. They never read the return, never allowed to see the return. They actually didn't sign them. Their ex-husbands did. And so we can go in and do innocent spouse out there to get that tax debt off of you. Now, if you're dealing with a spouse that you don't trust, one, I'll ask why you're married. Two, file married, file separate. It may cost you a little bit more in taxes, but it keeps the debt separate, his and hers. And so you don't have that issue out there. Although when they start dealing with their tax debt, you're going to have to still give information about you, because the IRS looks at all expenses as being shared based on percentage of income. And so it's not just 50-50. It could be 60-40, 70-30, 90-10, whatever the income ratio is. But if you haven't signed anything and you're completely innocent or ignorant of what that other spouse was doing, there is ways to get you off as innocent spouse and get that tax debt off of you.
Here's another Facebook. We're getting a lot of Facebooks today. How will it affect my credit if the IRS puts a tax lien on me?
Well, the lien's going to be there and show up on anything that gets pulled. There are some people out there that say IRS tax debt doesn't affect your credit very much, but pretty much guarantee you that it's going to be seen somehow out there on the credit reports. So it could be very negative and very damaging. If you go to borrow money or do mortgage or anything else, the mortgage company or the banks are going to do a complete check. And that includes looking at the liens on properties and stuff. And they're going to know and not going to loan you money unless that money is going to be guaranteed to be used to pay off those liens by the IRS or your IRS debt, and you'll have to deal with that. So we've gotten many calls that have asked for us to try to get lien releases. The IRS will release a lien if they're guaranteed to get payment out of maybe some loan that you're going to try to get on your property. But that'll be a condition to releasing that lien on the property. So there are ways we can get things done. Some of them are very difficult to do to get the IRS, and it just depends on how much you've ignored them or what maybe the relationship you may have. If you have a revenue officer who's really, really mad, you may get nothing out of it. So, we've got to look at every avenue possible.
Greg in Metairie, Louisiana wants to know, can the IRS seize my bank account without notifying me first?
Well, you were probably already notified with a certified letter that you did not pick up. If the IRS mails you a letter and it's to an old address, it is still considered received. IRS mails a letter and you didn't open it, it is still considered received. They're going to send you a final notice of intent to levy. And that means they are going to levy your bank account. Doesn't mean one time. It means as many times as they see fit until they're fully paid. So they may send you this final notice of intent to levy. They send it to you via mail. They send it via certified mail. You didn't pick it up. You go to your bank 30, 45 days later and your account was levied and there's nothing in it. They notified you. 2 months later, they levy you again. Guess what? That first notice still counts. They can now levy anytime they want to. You have been notified. Will they do it before that? I will tell you, maybe 1% of the time do I find that they levied in error. And that is usually on a year that they did not notify you for in error. And one of the revenue officers, managers or something signed off on the levy and came out there and levied your account. So even if you have an agreement with them and you happen to break the agreement, they can still levy. We were dealing with a revenue officer who threatened to levy us. And our client was sitting there going, hey, the check's in the mail. The check really was in the mail. And matter of fact, it was overnight and received by the IRS, but their revenue officer was sending out a threat and had a levy ready to go. I had to call the manager and tell the manager, he has the check. And then he's like, no way. And I'm like, yes, he does. I have proof that you guys received it and signed for right here. I faxed it to him. He went, hold on. Came back and goes, we just tore it up. Thank you very much. Doing the right thing. So, there's a lot of things that we've got to do to stop these guys, and we've got to break what their procedures and what they're trying to do. and get them to comply with what's right, within the law, within their Internal Revenue Manual. And that's kind of the benefit of hiring Taxation Solutions.
This is a question from TikTok. I am so glad there is actual show like this out there. Thank you so much to your guests. My question is, one, what is an enrolled agent? And two, if I signed with another company that I'm not satisfied with and I want to leave them and sign with your company, am I in for a lot of lawsuits?
Well, first off, let's address the first one, enrolled agent. Enrolled
Okay.
agent is licensed by the U.S. Department of Treasury to represent taxpayers to the highest levels of the IRS. My dad asked me when I became an enrolled agent, he goes, "Man, now you work for the government?" Oh, heck no. I work against the government. I just happen to have a license from the Department of Treasury to fight them and protect the taxpayers, my clients. And that is what we get to do. We got to do a lot of continuing education every year. I do a lot more than required, just because I want to make sure I'm the smartest man on the phone or the smartest person in the room when it comes to dealing with the IRS. And it's the same with my staff. Now, you sign with somebody else, you're not happy with what's going on, you can come to them. They're not going to sue you. They're actually going to tear up the paperwork and be done. If they're not doing anything, they're not going to give you a refund, regardless of what they've done, because in your paperwork, it probably says there are no refunds. Everything is earned upon collection. You can come to us. We're going to start working with you. Just got to give us a call at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. Let us help you. Let us get started. Let's get something in place to save you from the IRS.
Barry, do you have a website?
Absolutely do. It's taxationsolutions.net. Again, that's taxationsolutions.net. And again, our phone number is really simple, 888-930-1016, 888-930-1016. Man, time flies when we're doing this and we're having fun, doesn't it?
Oh my God, I wish you could see 480 people watching on TikTok right now. And I know we've got well over 1,000 just on YouTube. Barry, tell people again how they can reach you. And your show is on Mondays, every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Again, how do they reach you?
All right. So we're at taxtalk4u.com is our show. You can go over there and follow us, but we're on W4CY radio at 10 a.m. Eastern time every Monday. You can reach us at toll-free consultation, 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. If you go look at the podcast for Ask the Experts, you'll see our phone number scrolling down there at the bottom. So you always have a way to get back to this. So go to Ask the Experts, follow Ask the Experts, and then find our show. And, make sure that, hey, if you miss something, you can listen to it, over and over. And so you can pick up any areas that you needed to learn more about, by going back to the podcast or going to YouTube and seeing it right there with Ask the Experts. But again, our phone number is 888-930-1016. Free call, free consultation. Love to talk to you and give you a special discount just for mentioning Ask the Experts.
Yeah, for those of you who also use iHeart, Library, or Spotify, those are the two, probably the largest libraries. You can find all of Barry's shows there. Barry's with us twice a month. And Barry, you're right. The show goes by so fast, but I want to thank all of our new listeners on TikTok, our new listeners on Facebook, and all of our listeners and viewers on YouTube. Barry's been with me for 15 years. He is my longest standing expert. And I got to tell you, his shows are so easy to do. Bro, we so appreciate you. Stay out of the floods.
I will. Thank you, Steve-O, man. Have a great week. And, man, everybody have a God-blessed week. And, man, enjoy your family all you can and save yourself from tax debt by calling taxationsolutions.net. Thank you, Steve-O.
Barry Fowler, Taxation Solutions. Thanks, Barry. And, again, thank you to all of our guests, all of our listeners today. We'll be back again with you tomorrow for our TikTok listeners. And for our other listeners, we're here with you every Tuesday at 10 a.m. See you then.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.